Ooh, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Darku, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I defeated the hard mode of Pumpking in PokeMMO's Halloween event of 2023. Now, as a quick disclaimer, this is not a 100% method. You cannot just follow this absolutely blindly. You still need to use your head. During the making of this video, this was actually my third attempt of actually nailing it. So on screen you'll see the Pokemon that I used. Obviously I got a Tyranitar with Adamant, which is perfectly built, a Hydreigon with Modest, Chandelure with Modest, and we've also got Typhlosion with Gentle and Weezing with Docile. Those two are not in the best natures, but they still worked in this method. The sixth Pokemon being Luxray is absolutely not needed. Obviously I wanted the particle for Tiffany, but the 5 Pokemon up front is absolutely needed. So in the background now, I'll be showing you the IVs and the EVs of said Pokemon. It is obviously best to absolutely max out your Pokemon, but you might get away with a cheaper build. One thing worth noting for this fight, obviously you can't have duplicate Pokemon and you can't have duplicate items. So you need different items on all of them, and obviously you can't take more than one. So for Tyranitar we're taking Lum Berry, which actually cures any status effects that we may encounter. For Hydreigon we're taking Black Glasses to increase our dark damage. For Weezing we are taking a Chesto Berry, which will cure you of sleep. For Chandelure, on the screen you see Ghost Gem, but we're actually going to give it Spell Tag. Typhlosion, obviously we've got Choice Specs to help with our eruption damage. And for Tiffany we just have Assault Gear to help with special defense. Once again, we're really not going to be using Tiffany, so it doesn't matter that much. So you'll see now the moves on the Pokemon. For Tyranitar we're mainly going to be using Assurance and maybe Crunch. For Hydreigon we're going to be using Snarl and Dark Pulse. For Weezing we're going to be using Taunt and some items. For Chandelure we may use Shadow Ball. For Typhlosion we will be using Eruption. And hopefully it never comes to it, but obviously Tiffany is there if we need Crunch. So starting off on phase 1 then, you'll notice that Pumpkin is now level 70 for hard mode and also has 2 little minions with him, also level 70. In turn 1 we're going to use Tyranitar to use an xSpecialAttack on our Hydreigon. Our Hydreigon is going to use Snarl to hit all of the enemies opposing him. By the way, Snarl is also a 95% accuracy move, so you best pray that you don't hit that 5%. Weezing, we're going to make sure we use Taunt on the Pumpkin so that it hits us with a single move instead of AoE. Turn 2 then, we're going to be using Tyranitar with Assurance, which is going to hit Pumpkin, and we're going to use a Dark Pulse from Hydreigon, and we're going to use an xAttack on Tyranitar from Weezing. On this next turn then, unfortunately we got hit by a Paralyze, and also our ability from Weezing has been taken, so now Sandstream is also up. So on this turn, Tyranitar is going to be using Assurance to get some big boy damage on Pumpkin. On Hydreigon we're going to be using Snarl once again because he has minions and we want to hit all of the enemies. On Weezing we're going to be using Paralyze Heal on Hydreigon because obviously Hydreigon's not that hurt, so we don't need to use a full heal, we just need to Paralyze Heal. Once again, this is situational. I've done this fight a couple of times, and sometimes you don't get hit by anything, sometimes you get hit by sleep. It is really situational, but for me and this option right now, they're all standing. Hydreigon is the problem right now, being paralyzed. So luckily on this turn we've obviously not taken that much damage. Tyranitar is once again going to use Assurance to try and kill off Pumpkin. We're going to use Dark Pulse on Hydreigon, and on Weezing we're using a full heal just to make sure that we can top up a little bit and also not have any status problems. Again, there's very many different situations, and I've done this a couple of times, and Hydreigon has been able to Dark Pulse a couple of times by itself and not need the Assurance, but because it was actually in yellow HP rather than red, I didn't want to chance it. We could have used an extra heal. Jumping straight into phase number 2 then, you'll notice that Pumpkin is level 80 and so are his minions. This round we're going to use Tyranitar to use an X special on Hydreigon. Hydreigon's going to use Snarl once again to hit all the opposing enemies, and Weezing is also going to use an X special on Hydreigon to make sure that we're +4 and we hit everyone with Snarl. You know, providing we don't miss with that 5%. So you'll notice now with the weird AoE that the Pumpkin can do, that it does put some Pokemon to sleep. Obviously, Weezing having that berry, it wakes back up straight away. So on this turn, Tyranitar will be using Assurance to get some big damage onto the Pumpkin. Hydreigon will be using Dark Pulse to get some big damage as well. We don't need to use Snarl unless there's minions. On Weezing, we're going to be healing Hydreigon just a little bit to make sure that he's topped up. He's our main priority to keep it alive. So on this turn, even though Weezing is pretty low on HP, he will be just fine. Hydreigon, however, is asleep, so for Tyranitar, we'll be using Assurance once again to get some big damage on Pumpkin. On Hydreigon, we're going to use Snarl to hit the minions plus Pumpkin, and on Weezing, we're going to use a full heal to make sure Hydreigon is once again topped up of HP plus no longer sleeping. I just want to reiterate that once again, this is very situational. Obviously, RNG is so wild with this fight that you may have a different scenario. You just want to try and keep these three alive and keep them going. So on this very last turn then of phase 2, spoilers obviously, we're actually going to use Assurance once again from Tyranitar, Dark Pulse from Hydreigon, and we're just going to heal up Weezing to full HP as well. I could have probably healed Tyranitar here as well, but I wasn't quite trusting that Hydreigon's Dark Pulse would quite finish off Pumpkin. Evidently, Dark Pulse does finish off Pumpkin, but we're all nice and healed for the phase 3. If you're at this point, by the way, I would highly recommend making sure that your Pokemon are topped up, especially Hydreigon. Straight into phase 3 then, you'll notice that Pumpkin is level 90 and so are his minions. But just like phase 2, in phase 3, we'll be using xSpecialAttack on Hydreigon, Hydreigon will be using Snarl, and Weezing will also make sure that we use X Special on Hydreigon as well. So on the first turn we'll be using a Snarl attack with a +4 special attack. On this next turn, we'll be using Assurance from Tyranitar to get some nice damage in, Hydreigon will be using Dark Pulse, and Weezing will be eating one of the new cookies in the game, which is called the Broom Cookie, and what this does is protect your team from any stat drops. Now this is where it gets absolutely crazy and the RNG really kicks up a notch. Pumpkin now hits you with the move and just make sure that all of your front Pokemon are all now 1 HP. Now I will say previously I've done this obviously and got to phase 3 and Weezing's ability was taken away and Tyranitar's Sandstorm managed to kill all of my team in one turn, which is absolutely not what you want. So on this turn, Tyranitar will be eating what is called the Cat Cookie, and this actually heals you a little bit but also gives your entire team a speed boost for 4 turns. Hydreigon will be using Snarl to hit all of the Pokemon once again to try and get rid of the minions as well, and Weezing will be using a max potion on Hydreigon to keep that Pokemon in. Obviously, as you can see, the enemy Scythe comes in and does massive damage and also takes away all stat changes. Because your Pokemon were super scared from the previous turn, they will automatically switch into your back Pokemon as well. Obviously Weezing actually died, so we get to pick what Pokemon we want out. Now I picked Tiffany only because she's going to be the only one not actually attacking. So on this turn, luckily Typhlosion's in the middle, which is the perfect position for him. Chandelure and Tiffany are both going to use an xSpecialAttack on Typhlosion to get it as a +4 special attack, and Typhlosion is going to use Eruption. Obviously, because we ate that cat cookie, we've got that mad speed, which is brilliant because we can get our move off. However, unfortunate, Pumpkin does have a one-shot move. At this point, I'm very thankful that I healed Hydreigon when I did, as we can send him back out, and obviously he has the Snarl move which will hit them all, and now it's probably not necessary, but we absolutely did put an xSpecialAttack double down on a Hydreigon to make sure that the Snarl absolutely kills these things. Now you'll notice that Pumpkin actually lasts for one more turn as well on 1 HP. I think this is actually a mechanic. I don't think he just lives suddenly on 1 HP, but luckily for us the Sandstorm was up and finished him off anyway. Granted, if there was another turn, the Shadow Ball from Chandelier would have probably finished him off, but nonetheless the Sandstorm eventually came in clutch. So there you go, after you win your fight you get your 5 Pumpkin Goodie Bags and also the Phantom Particle on all your Pokemon. You also get a chance to get the shiny Phantom Particle on your Pokemon as well. There you go, ladies and gents, once again showing you the team that I've used. It is an Adamant Tyranitar, Modest Hydreigon, Modest Chandelier, and obviously we got a Typhlosion and Weezing as well, and they don't even have that good natures. Tiffany once again was just there and not necessarily needed, so your 6th Pokemon could be whatever you want. A lot of people will be using something like a Ditto or an Alpha Ditto to try and get these particles, because in future they'll be selling for quite a lot of Pokéyen. There you go, ladies and gents, that is the team that I used to beat the hard Pumpkin boss. Once again, a disclaimer, this was my 3rd or 4th attempt actually doing this and I was losing my mind. Just an extra note, the Lum Berries and the Chesto Berries, obviously they get taken from you, but if you have more in your bag every phase, it will put them back onto your Pokemon. So make sure you buy a couple of Lum Berries and a couple of Chesto Berries. The same thing can happen if you've got a ghost gem on your chandelier instead of spell tag. If you have a couple of ghost gems in your bag, it will replace the gem that you lost. So you're going to need X special attacks, X attacks, max potions, full restores, and full heals. Not only that, but the cat cookie and the broom cookie are absolutely essential for this fight. So I'm sorry that extra info is at the end of the video, but I hope you would watch this before attempting it yourself. And once again, this is not a 100% method. The RNG is crazy on this boss fight, and although a lot of people are farming it, I won't be. I'm glad that I've done it at least once. There you go, I hope you like, comment, subscribe. I hope you learn something about this fight so you don't keep wasting candies to try and learn about it. And I'll see you guys on another video. See ya!